This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details. Fan. Just in case you missed it, it's the top 5 sports talkers of the day. Now, it's time for Dan Barrero's Top 5 at 5. Brought to you by Gutter Helmet of Minnesota. Never clean your gutters again. Learn more at gutterhelmetmn.com.
Kaprizov not re-signing with the Wild, then leaving and winning a cup with a different team during the 2026-27 season.
And then on the ice, he says in Russian, anything is possible.
That's it. That'd be about it.
As he's the first person to get the cup.
Yeah, there's a lot of Kirill nominations to your questions.
Yeah, well, what about Ant? I mean, Ant's 2 years from now. He could say,
yeah, that's true, too.
I'm done.
Trade
I'm out.
me.
Right.
Not working here. Not
Trade me
work.
to Kevin Durant's team when he's 42 years old.
Or LeBron's.
Yeah, to the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah. 612 guy claims that the person I was quoting is a huge UFO nut job.
Okay.
So maybe he's not a reporter for News Nation. I don't know. We'll have to do a little more checking on that. Top 5?
Let's start with the Minnesota Twins. They got the victory. They won the battle, but did they lose the war? Because Pablo Lopez left the game with a shoulder injury, a right shoulder injury, and is expected that he will be hitting the injured list. The Twins have already, it seems like, told David Festa, you're not going to pitch for the St. Paul Saints in your next outing, so people expect him to join the club. He spent some time on the IL earlier this season and now appears to be headed back there. The Twins are back in Oakland tonight, or I should say Sacramento, playing the Oakland A's, but did move into second place in the Central Division all by their lonesome, not having won the last 2. They are 6 games behind the Tigers. In terms of tonight, it's Zebby Matthews on the mound, and I have not yet seen anything official from the Twins about Lopez, but all indications are that he will head back to the injured list.
We are, it looks to me, with our record of 33-27, we are tied for third best record in the American League right now. Astros lead the American League West with the same record. So, yeah, what's unusual once again about the standings is that the first place team in the AL Central is winning at a 645 clip. The Tigers, Sparky Anderson's Tigers, are 40-22. That's a gaudy record. That's big time, is it not?
It is, and to your point, being the Central, they have the top 2 wild card teams right now, with the Twins being 1 and just a half game behind them, the Cleveland Guardians, 32-27. So right up there in the top 4 or 5 in the American League.
Even the White Sox, by their recent standards,
surging,
are respectable at 19-42. Did they win 19 games all of last year? I'm not sure.
It was close.
It was close, yeah.
We definitely monitored it. So tonight.
So the question is the pitcher, how long he's going to be out. He's on the injured list, I assume.
I haven't seen anything official, but that's where he's headed for sure, it appears. Minnesota Lynx, you want to talk about winning percentage? Theirs is 100%. They have not lost a game this season. They are now 8-0 after routing the Phoenix Mercury, who did have some injury concerns going into the game last night, but not our problem. 88-65 was the final. Nafisa Collier with 18 points. Want to get her full line because it's always impressive here. 18 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal. I swear she had a block that she didn't get credit for. I thought I watched her get a block. Maybe somebody fouled the player before she ended up blocking the shot. But they're 8-0, and Nafisa Collier was named the Western Conference Player of the Month today.
Here's what I think we should do, because technically we're maybe in a different position than we once were. Can we not bring Ryan Donaldson out of retirement, our new Snonami guy, to do the Roar for 44, something like that? He would do that, wouldn't he?
He would do that, and he's available from what I hear.
Might as well have fun with it. I mean, it's going to realistically end sometime soon, but maybe not. By the way, the Liberty, also a part of the Roar for 44, they are undefeated, and I believe their average margin of victory approaches 20 points.
Not only does it approach it,
it surpasses it?
It surpasses it. Well, their point differential is 20.6.
Wow.
The Lynx are 10.1.
A measly 10-1, huh?
Which is why we're probably still behind them in the always changing, ever-evolving athletic power rankings.
Realistically,
I think New York is number one, and the Minnesota Lynx are number 2.
Yeah, I'm probably right about that.
Paige Beckers hosts the Lynx on Sunday. It's in Dallas.
How has she been doing? I've lost touch with her since she was... Didn't we play her early?
We played her twice early.
Okay.
That's the season opener and the home opener.
Is Dallas buried early?
Yes, they are. Okay. They've got one victory.
Ooh.
Beckers.
How's she playing?
She's playing okay. She missed a couple of games with injury. She's she's averaging 14 points and 6 assists. So she's putting up decent numbers.
Yeah.
Especially on the assist side. But
any of the UConn players weighing in on how this is a different level and this is not going to come together in like 15 minutes? Oh, not so much.
Haven't seen much of that.
Isn't that funny?
No, haven't seen much of that.
I'll be damned.
We mentioned during the show yesterday, and we talked about it a little bit today, that Tom Thibodeau was relieved of his coaching duties after leading and guiding the Knicks to back-to-back 50-win seasons for the first time in a long time, and the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in 25 years. So, part of the reason we're here in these chairs, you go to Mike and the Mad Dog, WFAN radio, right?
Yeah, back in the day.
The heavyweights, the pioneers, they used to have a show. Mike Francesa and then Christopher Mad Dog Russo. I think Aunt Gal can probably text in right now. She probably listened to it every single day on the iHeartRadio app, back in 1987. They're not together anymore, but they still both have platforms. Mad Dog everywhere, including Sirius, and Francesa does his own podcast, even though he's retired 5 times. So today, each of them, might have been yesterday, each of them opined on who the fall guy should be for Tibbs being the fall guy, or whose call that it was. Let's have a listen, starting first with Francesa, and then it gets into Mad Dog.
I don't care what you think of Jim Dolan. I don't care what you think you've heard or what you know. This was Leon Rose's decision. This was not Jim Dolan's decision. I feel like I have that on very good authority. I feel very comfortable with that. And like I said, I tell you with complete faith in this information that this is Leon Rose's decision and nobody else's. I feel 100% confident about that.
What do you think, Mad Dog?
But this is about Dolan. Don't let anybody hear you. Don't let anybody in America hear you say, this is Leon Rose. Nonsense. I don't want to hear from Rose. Everybody knows that Rose had nothing to do with this. This is Dolan. And this is Dolan. This is not Leon Rose. Please, don't go to Leon Rose. It's not him. This has nothing to do with Leon Rose. Leon Rose was his agent, for crying out loud. You think he's going to give him a 3-year extension last year at the end of the season, and then the agent then fire him after he gets to the conference final the next year? I mean, come on. Leon's too smart for that nonsense. There's no way he would have done that. He hired him, then he gave him a contract extension, and then they go to an Eastern Conference final for the first time in a quarter of a century, and he decides to dump him? Come on. Hey, if you believe that, you believe in a tooth fairy.
You're really convinced Dolan made this call?
Absolutely.
Dolan has not.
Absolutely. I made a few calls before the show. They all told me the same thing.
Okay.
Dolan made the call.
I'll take your word for it. And
and these people have unbelievable influence within the Knick organization for the last 50 years. Dolan made the call.
So Francesa.
So Mad Dog seems to be leaning Dolan.
Mad Dog's leaning Dolan on good information.
Yeah. And
Francesa says,
good
I've got it on great information. This was Leon Rose. Dolan had nothing to do with it. I just loved it. It's so good. Because those are
irresistible force and movable object.
And they both, I'm sure, have great sources. Yeah. Because they're New York legends. I'm sure they know everybody that works at Madison Square Garden. But it's too bad they couldn't have argued about it on their own show. But
Dolan is the easy culprit because he has been so rippable for so long. Does that necessarily mean he did it? That he's responsible? I don't know. I don't know that that's necessarily true. If it's easier if you always want to make Dolan the villain, and largely he's made himself the villain as the owner of that team. But who knows if we're ever going to get to the bottom of the truth? I think you're going to see a lot of stories out. I'm guessing, just like you did here, they're going to demonize Tibbs. They're going to make it sound like he was throwing, computer terminals through windows, and there's all kinds of stuff behind the scenes that we don't know anything about. It's the way of the world. It's the way this always goes, depending on who gets nailed. And I'm cynical enough about it because I think if someone else gets nailed, they're just as likely. Well, actually, it's already happened with Cat.
It has.
It has started. And the irony here, of course, is Cat isn't viewed as the biggest Tibbs guy in the world.
Right.
And yet he's been demonized from the moment the series ended. And so I think we're very quickly probably going to see some of those same stories Tibbs related. It would be helpful if the is it Rose? The general manager of the team, or the president of basketball operations, would raise his hand. He's one of those general managers, though, who apparently never does a press conference, even end-of-the-year press conference.
It's true.
Nothing. And to me, if it's your decision, own it. I don't think you don't even have to run from it. You may not have to get you may not want to get as specific as reporters will want you to, and that's up to you. You can answer the questions, but to me, it's let's get something straight. I did this. This was my decision. Now, the people who can't stand Dolan will say, well, he's just carrying Dolan's water. And sometimes that's true, because to this day, that's what some people think happened in Dallas.
Nico Harrison.
On the Luka trade. Yep. That he's just carrying water for the owner that wanted to make the move or didn't want to pay him the $500 million contract.
Coming up later tonight, right here on the Fan, 7 o'clock puck drop, the Stanley Cup Final, the Edmonton Oilers hosting the Florida Panthers in a rematch of the final series a year ago.
On this date in sports history, I'm actually old enough to remember it, a remarkably momentous moment that included not only a couple of controversial shots, but a referee getting assaulted by a fan. We'll play some of that back for you. Some of you will remember it, some of you won't. We'll give you details on what took place on this date in sports history. Stay tuned.
Get ready to experience the magic of James Taylor live in concert. Don't miss out seeing this legendary singer-songwriter along with his all-star band when they take the stage at XL Energy Center June 17th. Enter for your chance to win a pair of tickets to this incredible show at KFAN.com, keyword contests.
Kessler coming up at the bottom of the hour. He is already here prepping for his big segment or two. June 4... That's today, right? Today the 4th?
It is.
1976, I will argue, remains one of the most underrated sporting events, single games in the history of professional sports, certainly in the history of professional basketball. It was Game 5 of the NBA Finals. The Boston Celtics hosting the Phoenix Suns, the old parquet floor in Game 5. And you're going to hear some of the play-by-play. You're going to hear first from the legendary radio voice of the Celtics, Johnny Most. Then you're going to hear from Brent Musburger on the CBS call with Rick Barry. Then I think at the end you're going to hear the Suns play-by-play call. And on that night, John Havlicek, Hall of Famer for the Celtics, all-timer, hits a go-ahead shot late to put the Celtics up 1. A celebration ensues because the fans think the game's over. Well, sure enough, there's still time on the clock. And while there's a melee on the court, you've got fans who've rushed the court thinking the game's over. A referee, a legendary referee named Richie Powers, gets assaulted by a goofball fan. And there's more to the rest of the bit. But let's listen to, it's sort of like getting in the old time capsule, I would say. It's going to feel like you're listening to sports in a very different time.
Pass goes to Havlicek. He's coming around to the left. The shot is good. The shot is good, and that's it. Ball game's over. The shot is good. The shot is good.
Should have one out, or did it have two?
Everybody's on the floor. Basketball game, Brent. The ball went in with 2 seconds to go, and the clock has to stop on a made basket. The Phoenix Suns will get the ball with 2 seconds to go. This game is not over.
Richie Powers is in a fight with a fan right here in front. Referee Richie Powers was assaulted by a fan. They pulled the bore off. They're the cops out in the middle. They got fans out in the middle of the floor. The Phoenix Suns trying to get it cleared to get the 2 seconds off. Here's Richie Powers now. Don Murphy is over there with him. We've got 2 seconds. You're right, Rick. Murphy just told me. Murphy has verified what you said. 2 seconds left. 2 seconds left in the game. They've got to clear the floor. They've got to bring the Phoenix Suns back. It's not over yet. We've got 2 seconds left in this game.
Here goes
Now
John Havlicek. He's driving. He goes right up. Makes an almost impossible shot as he almost hits the floor. Banks it in. 2 seconds to go. The ball had gone through. The clock ticked down to 1, but there was 2 seconds when the ball was in the basket.
111, 110. Double overtime. It's going to take us a while to get this floor cleared off. Murphy told me there were 2 seconds. Believe me, we've got 2 seconds left in this basketball game.
We were down by 1, and under the rules of the time, we would have the ball out underneath the basket. So we decided to call a timeout.
Heads-up call by Westfall to call a timeout and give us the technical.
Out of bounds on the end line. The shot is good by JoJo White.
JoJo White made the free throw, put them up by 2, but we still get the ball at half court. So instead of being down by 1, we'd be down by 2, but at least we'd have a chance to tie the game.
1 second remaining in the second overtime. Here's Perry to Gar Hurd. Here's the jump shot. Good! It's good! It counts! Gar Hurd ties it. We'll go to the third overtime. I gotta take a breather. Garfield Hurd made the basket. I want to tell you something. Somebody up there is on our side, and justly so.
So there it is. So that ties it. But then the bad news for Phoenix was the Celtics did win it in triple overtime. A magnificent basketball game. And as I understand the rule that they laid out, you heard from Paul Westphal that they basically, the Suns called a timeout knowing they didn't have one because they were going to have to inbound the ball in the backcourt.
Yeah.
So apparently, you at that time at least, you still try to call a timeout without having one. A technical foul is called on you. The other team gets one free throw. But then you are able at that point to advance the ball.
That's crazy.
Which is crazy. I don't think that rule exists today, but that's the only reason Phoenix had a chance to tie the game is the inbounds pass, did not have to go from the back court. It basically went from center court into a forward by the name of Garfield Hurd, very good player. He hits a turnaround shot to tie it and sends it into OT. It's the kind of game, again, we've talked about this before, with all the action on the court, the melee on the court, a referee being assaulted, Richie Powers.
Crazy video.
If you put it in 2025 terms, they'd be talking about it on SportsCenter and on all the morning shows, first take, whatever, for like months is what they would say. How can this possibly happen? We've got to put, better safeguards in play to protect the referees. How did this, I think he was called a boor by Brent Musburger, get on the court? Well, he's on the court because after the original Havlicek shot, the assumption is the game is over. And it was one of those deals where, no, you let the clock keep going. The clock needed to stop. And they I don't know if it ended up being with 2 seconds left or 1. I think when the Suns broadcaster at the end there said they inbounded it with 1 second to go, and he did get the shot off, but it was a wild melee and scene at the old Boston Garden, and one of those games that remains one of the most memorable in the history of the league. And yeah, believe it or not, some of us are old enough to actually remember watching it. I can remember watching that game with Jay Barrero on the TV.
Really?
Going, you got to be kidding me. And ultimately, we were kind of anti-Celtics in those days because all they did was win. We almost got tired of them winning.
For sure.
And in this case, again, they did prevail I don't know how many triple overtime games we've had in the NBA Finals. I don't think a bunch.
I remember, didn't the Suns and Bulls have one in 93?
They did.
At Chicago Stadium?
Yes, that's right.
If I remember right. That's the only other one I remember off the top of my head.
That's, in fact, I think in the comments here, that game is even mentioned. Bulls-Suns game 3.
That's sick that I remember that.
Which is a good memory on your part. But how about
MJ.
Listening to Musburger, too? A very animated Musburger with Rick Barry just screaming, there's 2 seconds to go.
He just confirmed to me. He just told me.
That's it. That's
good insight.
And Richie been assaulted by a fan. Get the boor off of him. It was pretty good.
I think today was also... Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I think today was also 25 years ago, the mythic Kobe to Shaq alley-oop Game 7 Lakers Blazers.
25 years ago today?
To get them to the first final for their three-peat there, to get to their first championship after obviously not having one with that group that epic little alley-oop where Shaq just hammers it on the baseline.
Somebody is asking, was it live or tape delayed back then? I think that was live that year, but there was a stretch when the NBA Finals were on tape delay. They saved it. They put it on after the news. They just didn't think the ratings would be good enough to have it on in prime time. Think about that. It's crazy to think about.
A source close to a basketball situation believes it was a delayed replay game.
He does?
He remembers watching it.
Then that may be... I remember watching it, but I cannot remember what time I was watching it, so maybe that's indeed the case then, too. It's astonishing to think of it that way today, right?
Yes.
What are you talking about? Tape delayed.
Right.
You didn't have it on live? NBA Finals? Are you kidding?
But now we have 4 versions of the same game on different channels.
That's true.
We have multiple announcers, multiple ways to watch it.
Thank you, Irvin Magic Johnson. Thank you, Larry Joe Bird.
There were a lot of players before them, Dan.
Very good point.
Okay.
I wonder, I know one thing. Our 5:30 guest, he's old enough to remember that game. He might have watched it. Oh, no, he was on the farm then. My guess is they didn't watch pro basketball on the farm at all back then.
No, too much work to do.
Did he have a TV? We'll check. We'll find out with Kessler. We got a lot of ground to cover with him. Special K is coming up after a brief.
I wish the American media would take a great look at the views of the people in Congress and find out, are they pro-America or anti-America?
Pat Kessler. Because people have got to know whether or not their president's a crook. Well, I'm not a crook.
I can't trust Obama. He's an Arab.
Pat Kessler.
Tear down this wall.
I did nothing wrong at the Minneapolis airport.
Senator, you're no Jack Kennedy.
Pat Kessler.
And now, to help Dan break down all the tough questions in politics, it's our own
Pat Kessler.
Political Walk.
I feel like a supermodel, except like times 10.
It's Channel 4's
Pat Kessler
with Dan Barrero on the Fan.
Pat Kessler is indeed back in studio. Are you worried about this dire prediction of some sort that, I don't know, like the poles are going to reverse, north and south poles, and the world's going to like
collapse
implode or something?
I mean, seriously, is this
more people from other worlds or things from other worlds?
I have never heard of this.
2027.
Why are you?
There's a million of these, but this one, because it was it's on News Nation guy. He's an investigative reporter, or is he a quack?
Well,
quack's the wrong term because that's a doctor.
No, absolutely not. No, he's a special correspondent for News Nation. I just looked him up. I hadn't heard of this particular crisis on the way. He is known for his investigative reporting and his program, wait for it, Reality Check.
Are you serious?
That's the name of his program. So he tackles,
you didn't copyright it, huh?
I tried to get them to copyright it a long time ago. That, anything costs money, they won't do. So he tackles topics related to UFOs, unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs, and mysteries often overlooked by mainstream media. Now, there have been many predictions about the apocalypse and what's going to happen.
And most of them inaccurate.
Well, have any of them been accurate?
No, I say yes.
I mean, all these things we've gone through in our lives that we've grown up with, where people drink the Kool-Aid or get in rocket ships to go. I mean, it's just wild. So, who am I? Who am I to say it's not true? I don't know. It is what it is, and if it happens, it happens, I guess.
Yeah, I mean...
But I'm worried now.
Aren't we all? 2027? I mean, that's not that far off. This is 2025.
Mm-hmm. So it's coming fast. So I'd like a little more detail.
Do you think you have, like are you going to try to have all your affairs in order at that point, or does that become immaterial if everybody's wiped out at the same time?
Well, it doesn't matter. I did select a cabin for our family.
Did you?
That is
it like a bomb shelter cabin where
I can't talk to you about that?
So I figured.
But here's the deal:
a lot of storage, a lot of things in there.
I did figure out a place that is outside the bomb blast area of a nuclear device,
really
detonating in downtown Minneapolis.
Who would have thunk that?
And so, I mean, I think about
your homework on this.
I have. And let me just say, there are bunkers out there, and not mine. I'm not saying they're mine, but there's a lot of stuff.
Do you have like a lot of foodstuffs in storage for just that occasion?
And how
or are
long
you still
do they
working
last? Still working on that, but
like nuclear holocaust?
Yeah, I mean
they last more than 15 minutes. I think. You mean in terms of the aftermath?
Well, no, I mean how long will the food last?
Oh, the food lasts. I see.
That's all I care about.
That's what you care about.
All right, so here's the deal. I was a young reporter.
Yeah.
In the early 60s, I was a young reporter, and I'm covering the Minnesota State Capitol. And somehow I find a door in the basement that I jimmy open, and I go in there, and with a flashlight. It's all dark, and in this darkened tunnel of the Minnesota State Capitol, I find bomb shelter stuff.
Really?
Yeah. Bomb shelter stuff, including now empty barrels of water.
Was this a place you weren't supposed to be?
Of course.
Were you trespassing?
Yes. I say jimmied open the door.
Jimmied open the door,
yeah.
okay.
Oh, man, I went.
Did you ever turn yourself in?
You're not even going to believe what else I found. I mean, there's blankets in there. Okay. Literally record players with Russian language 45 records. And this is what gave me pause, there were small barrels of morphine.
What?
Yes. I'm not making any of this up.
You can reality look it up. Check. You
can look it up. I did a story on CCO. I went in there with a camera then because there were buckets full of little vials of morphine. So at that point, I felt like I had to tell people I was
How
there.
many years ago was this?
Oh, gosh. It would have been 25 years ago.
And did you get, did anybody explain to you why these items were in storage there?
There were fallout shelters everywhere.
What's that got to do with the morphine? For pain?
When the bomb hits.
I see.
When the bomb hits.
Pain medication.
Yes. So people were really freaked out in the 50s and 60s.
Big time. Yeah, we used to have to do the drills.
Absolutely. Get under the desk when the bomb hits, when the mushroom appears.
Yeah, and as
if it's going to make a difference. And
when we did those drills, deep down we know that it's not going to matter if you're under the desk or not.
Maybe you did, but I thought, okay,
this might do it for me.
Work.
This desk, if I'm under the desk, the desk might get nailed.
Can I bring it home? Can I bring the desk home? So people were really freaked out about it. Now, if you find fallout shelter material signs,
those three pyramid signs, triangle signs.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, absolutely. In a circle, triangle in a circle, fallout shelter here. So people would have them in their homes, down the well.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's pretty wild that nowadays not a lot of people remember that.
No,
it was all there. And this is in the Minnesota State Capitol. I mean, you could probably fit 100 people in. Who gets in?
Yeah. Who makes that decision? Who makes that call?
Out? Governor Walz.
I'm sure.
That's who.
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
Well, no, he wouldn't get in because he'd be in California.
Or South Carolina.
South Carolina, or wherever.
Where's the first presidential primary?
What's that famous...
Howard Dean!
Yeah. Remember the Howard Dean moment.
Oh, God,
we had that somewhere.
Oh, my God. I was there. So, yeah,
let me ask you a question that is not connected to anything that I wanted to get your opinion on here. The story had to do with Hollywood tariffs, but I don't want to discuss that so much as this observation. With a multitude, well, let me back up. It's clear enough to me that the movie industry of my youth died not because other countries stole film production locations, because that was one of the Trump accusations, if you remember, a while back.
Yeah.
But rather because American tastes have permanently changed, with a multitude of modern homebound entertainment options, amidst changing cultural mores and rising prices, we just don't have a need or desire to go to the movie theater as much as we once did. Now, do you agree with all of that? Half of that? What do you make of that?
I think we're in the midst of a disruption in the media, including Hollywood. And I don't know if we're going to have big stars anymore, if we're going to have the kinds of Hollywood stars that we have now and over the last 50 years. Everything is changing. I know that many states...
When's the last time you've been at a movie theater?
I was thinking about that when you asked the question.
I think it's got to be years
I can't
for
remember.
me.
I can't remember. And what movie was it? I remember, it's probably later than this, but the movie Yesterday about what if
Right.
Nobody knew about the Beatles, you know, that like
Yes.
that. But for sure, the media are changing, and it's even beyond the Hollywood making movies. Have you seen some of the AI movies?
No.
AI is soon capable of making movies, including characters. So
well, this guy writes, Americans now go to theaters to see a Minecraft movie, not Chinatown. No tariff policy will ever restore our tastes. So it makes me kind of sad.
Milo and Stitch.
Yes.
Yeah, and they're going to go to see that.
But, again, I'm no different than most. I don't go to see movies in theaters anymore either, but it saddens me a little bit because I do think there was something about, as much as I'm the Larry David guy who's going to be bitter if the guy next to me is talking through the whole movie or he's crunching on his ice, I still felt like there was something about the spectacle of going to see a movie in a theater. The great big screen, the movie theater experience, but it sounds like it might be gone forever.
I wonder how long this is going to take, because it was one of the few things where we had a communal experience in person with other people around us that we don't know. So I haven't read any predictions about how long it lasts, but they're trying new ways to get people into theaters. But you are right. With all of the different platforms we have with HBO and Apple and Prime, everything, and where they're making their own series, making their own movies, things have changed. How long will it take? I don't know how long this particular writer is predicting, but how long will it take before it implodes upon itself? The movie industry is under attack from Washington, from President Trump. That's not going to help. Bringing people back to the United States, are you going to pay for them to have cheaper labor and better taxes? That is highly unlikely. And so President Trump has also proposed putting a tariff on movies. Think about that. How do you do that?
Well, yeah, the idea is he says they've all been stolen. I'm not so much interested in debating that than our tastes, whether there is a market. Now, somebody texted and said, Imagine theaters are packed every night. What's an Imagine theater? Do we know?
I would love to know.
Do you know, Gaardsy? An Imagine theater.
If I'm remembering it right, I've been to a couple of them. There's one up here in Golden Valley where just the seats are huge. There's like a bar there.
Oh, I have been. Yeah. Absolutely.
There might be more to it. I might be missing a few steps, but it's more of just like a big outing where you
But are they packed?
Okay, I'm not sure. Okay, I'm totally one of the last movies I went to, and it's still been a few years, was one of these theaters. I think it is in St. Louis Park, where, you pack a couple of drinks in, buy a couple of drinks, which attracted me right to it.
It's not a reach for you.
Saw Creed, saw a bunch of, you can see great movies.
Right.
So if you want to go that direction, but that's still not quite the same. But yeah, I would agree. Get those Barca loungers in there and get yourself a beer, watch a movie. Yeah, absolutely. But you and I are the reason. We are to blame.
Yeah,
I can't think.
Yeah, I can't either. I'm admitting it. I'm part of the. If you want to call it a problem, it's And a lot of people say, well, it's so easy now. You can get access to so many movies at home, and we've all got bigger screens than we ever did with the TVs we grew up with.
Yes,
you didn't even have TV on the farm, did you? You were just radio.
Well, we did have a television, but it went off at like 10:30 after the news. It went off, and you get a test panel.
Right.
And my parents would actually they kept the television in their bedroom. And when it was time to watch television, they brought it out to the living room and plugged it in. We could watch television from 7 until 10 at night. And that's the way it was. So, yeah, everything has changed, but we don't know what's next and what's next after what's next. I thought that a lot of the ways they do concerts, rock concerts, was going to be, and people love it, and I've been to a lot of concerts recently, but people love the concerts, but it's so expensive to have a big concert and then have a traveling band, whatever. So now you've got the Sphere in Las Vegas, which is an entirely different deal. So I wonder if the same thing is going to happen with movies. I am the problem. It's me when it comes to movies.
I mean, for me, it was during COVID that I sort of went away from it, right? That was when it started for me.
Absolutely.
And I just never got it back. And I don't think, and I mean, obviously the industry is doing everything it can, right? Because you say the seats are cushy, fancier than ever. Some of them are heated. Some of them are air conditioned. You can get food brought to your seat these days, or, there's all kinds of those sorts of options. But none of that has necessarily brought me back.
And the studios, entertainment is still one of the number one industries, perhaps one of the biggest institutions and industries in the United States of America. So in a company like CBS, which is about to be sold and broken up, where you've got the news divisions and you've got programming, but what they want is to break it up into entertainment business, and that is making movies, and that is series, and that is putting these things on television. American movies are among the top exports in the United States, and we are going after them with tariffs and stuff. So,
what do you think of this opinion? Literally just turning into the show and hearing about movies in the industry, I think you can single-handedly point to the price. Just a date of tickets, popcorn, and a couple of soda pops, like $60. That's like 3 months of streaming service. So he's saying it's money. And then there was another one that just came in.
I think he's right. Go ahead.
Movie industry, this is from Jeff in Richfield, is killing itself. The theaters are poorly run, expensive, and distraction-filled. Friday nights, you're spending $50 minimum for 2 tickets and a popcorn. The audience is loud and using the phone during films. AMC just increased their ad length to be something like 22 minutes before the movie starts.
No,
it's just
seriously?
a bad experience.
So
now.
If the movie is at 7:30, are they going to show 20 minutes of ads and warnings? Well, that would drive me nuts because that has happened before.
Right.
Where somebody has a phone in their hand and they're texting, or some people talking on the phone. That's crazy. So I get that, but this is old media now. It's old media.
That's true.
Bricks and mortar, a movie theater with 10 theaters, and they're very narrow theaters now. You don't go to the big opera house theaters anymore. But no. I'm still very interested.
Let's get to a couple of the stories on your list here in our remaining minutes for this segment. I'm looking at the headline. I haven't even read this story yet. I think it was filed actually about 2 hours ago. This is out of the Star Tribune. The federal operation at Lake Street Restaurant that drew protests was one of apparently 8 across the Twin Cities. That there were 8 different raids yesterday across the Twin Cities, part of an investigation into what's described as a transnational criminal organization, according to federal officials. I had not heard there were any other locations. This was the one that obviously got the most attention because I think upwards of like 100 people showed up once the thing got started. What do we know about? Did you know that that there were many other sites where this raid was taking place?
Not until today. And the communication from the federal government on this, I think, has been poor. No one knew that this was happening. They roll into Minneapolis at Lake and Bloomington with military equipment, military-type equipment, I should say. 61 federal agents, including ICE, DEA, FBI, all of this. And nobody knows what's going on, including the police and the city of Minneapolis. They didn't know exactly what was happening. If this is an international operation of money laundering and criminal, great, go get them. But why people don't know about this, because suddenly, yesterday, as this happened, like moths to a flame, suddenly, because of everything, all of the politics and all of the tension surrounding immigration enforcements and deportations, they are converged upon these officers trying to do whatever they're going to do. And we don't know what it is, except you see people with ICE, and every one of these guys and gals are wearing masks. So you don't know what's going on. And suddenly in Minneapolis, then the protesters come out, and I think the video that I've seen numerous times is the tear gas was loosed. You got people not assaulting, but verbally assaulting the officers there. But these guys are dressed like they're in a war zone. And so it's a little, but we didn't know what it was. And Mayor Fry was trying to get the word out during the raid.
Yeah.
The sheriff of Hennepin County said they were there for crowd control or traffic control. But, what are we supposed to do about it? We still don't know what it is. When I looked at what the ICE, they put out a statement on this, and it says nothing. I have no idea what they're doing. Have you read the statement?
No, I've not.
It's like a paragraph. It's a paragraph.
Really,
I mean, we conducted a groundbreaking criminal operation today. I won't read the whole thing. But it's Minnesota's first under the Homeland Security Task Force umbrella, whatever that is. But you've got all these federal agencies doing something in making a raid in Minneapolis and in other cities around the country, but we don't know what it is. People think it's ICE, protesters coming out. Is that the way it's going to be?
Well, the question is, they can't really do a press conference ahead to warn.
Absolutely not.
What they can do, you would hope, is, within reason, I guess, try to keep the various law enforcement folks who end up getting involved in this, at least, and you'd like to think the mayor, et cetera, some information on the front end. Now, maybe they say, well, then more people know, and then that's where it gets funky. If we're being honest about it, I think part of the concern is the climate that this administration has decided to go with when it comes to the immigration issue. So it could end up having nothing to do with that. But because of the approach the approach has been as heavy-handed as it is, as wrongful and illegal as it has been in several cases, not all cases, but several cases, I think it's hard that people aren't going to be in the mood to give the benefit of the doubt. But on the other hand, like I said, you can't have a press conference saying we're about to do a raid.
It's absolutely true. I talked to a pretty good source that I have in the FBI this afternoon. And he's telling me, look, we're not going to tell you, even for deportations, if they're helping ICE, whatever it is.
Right.
We're not going to tell you what that is. But according to my source, this is a little bigger than that. This is, as I say, I believe it was 61 officers. I believe that's how many it was. And according to the federal government, it was FBI, IRS, because it's a money laundering thing. So agents of the IRS, DEA, ATF, I don't even know who some of these are. U.S. Border Patrol, Coast Guard, TSA. All of these people were involved in this, and they weren't letting people know what was going on. So, yeah, I agree. And I agree with my source in the FBI. They can't tell you everything. But this is big enough that some people should know or should have known.
All right, let's get a pause in now. We got more to get to with Kessler. I still don't think we have a budget. Do we have any signs of puffs of white smoke that there's going to be when there's going to be a special session? We got some workers are supposed to be coming back to work, and then others saying, well, no, we're about to lay you off because we can't afford you because the budget's not passed. We'll get into all of that and a number of other things with Special K in Part 2 after a brief pause here in the fan. Kessler, where are we on the, we've talked about it for several weeks, but I guess we got to at least cover it. We still have no budget. We still have I guess there is no point in having a special session until you're close enough that you think you can actually reach the finish line. Is that the deal?
Well, nobody trusts anybody. So you cannot have a special session unless you actually agree on what you're going to pass and in what order are you going to pass it. And you have to sign your name to a thing promising that's all you'll do. Because sometimes they go crazy.
Yes.
They go rogue. And once the legislature's in session, the governor can't do anything. They could stay in for a year. So they haven't agreed on the biggest issues. Only about 10% of the budget has been secured. And they haven't done transportation. They just haven't done anything. Education, healthcare. And they're close. They say they're very, very, very close, but they've blown through all their self-imposed guidelines. But this is how you fund the government. And if they don't do something very soon, and I think they'll probably try to get in there if by the end of this week, let's say, if they don't do anything, the government will shut down in large swaths of the government, and there are going to be things that people are not going to be happy with. The layoff notices have already gone out to tens of thousands of state workers, and it's over if they don't get it done by the end of June.
So the big date is if there's no deal by June 30.
June 30.
That's when significant shutdowns will begin. Is that correct?
And it won't be the prisons. It's not going to be things like that. But
we're closing the prisons anyway.
We're just going to close them.
Yeah.
Why not?
Stillwater's closing, isn't it?
I wonder if they're going to make it into like Alcatraz. Like, think about it. They could invite President Trump to come and tour it. Yeah. Because Cole Younger was there. I mean, all of that.
That's right.
But what will shut down, and I think people who have state park reservations for July, I think those could be in jeopardy. They are in jeopardy, actually. You won't see the highway workers that are all over the state right now, not going to be able to get a driver's license. And for you, because I know you're kind of a travel guy, the highway rest stops will close.
Those are big.
The highway rest stops are going to close.
I don't think I've ever been to a highway rest stop.
Get out of here.
See you later.
Oh,
you have to.
A highway rest stop?
You've never been to a highway rest stop?
No, rarely.
Guardsy, on your
like
RV
a gas
trip.
station, or
Yeah.
I mean,
you go to a gas station and just pop in.
well, yeah, you can go to a gas station. They usually have.
Well, the highway
restrooms.
rest stops are part of Minnesota lore.
Stop it! You've not
American
spent any time
lore.
American lore. Come on,
you've been in near a rest
Nothing
stop
like
for
a good
30
rest
years.
stop.
I have been. Oh man.
Yeah. Okay.
Rest stop. Well, one of the big scandals.
Stretch out a little bit.
Yes,
It's great.
Picnic tables there.
Brad
Pull out a
Radke.
doobie.
This is also, I guess, maybe a budget question or a government question.
Mm-hmm.
This is from Brad Radke, guy. Can you ask Kessie if the state of Minnesota is going to draw pot licenses tomorrow or not? That's from Pot Farmer guy. Where are we on that? Do
That's
you know?
a good question. I can't answer that question because I don't know the answer. But if the government shuts down, I'd say nay. Absolutely not. So if tomorrow is a deadline where they said they were going to do it, they've blown past all their deadlines so far. So I wish I could say yes, but I just don't know enough about that one.
So where are we on the order to bring workers back to offices?
They're coming back right now.
So you're talking about state workers? You're talking about private companies? The whole state workers?
State workers are back. And, actually...
But if they don't have a job...
They're going to be laid off again.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it'd be like, here's the deal. I mean, there are, I think just this afternoon, I think Target, downtown Minneapolis, said they want a lot more people coming back.
That's what I saw. There's a Target story. Yeah, that's right.
But the state workers were told, and many of them are not happy about this. 50% they're going to have to spend their time, 50% of the time in bricks and mortar buildings. And the irony here is that after the pandemic, the state of Minnesota were saying, we don't need all this office space. Yes. And they sold off a bunch of it. When the leases ran out, they didn't renew them.
So do we have room for these people to come back?
Here is the deal, man. Here is the deal. And I think this is the strangest part of the workers coming back. It's going to be a smaller workspace that they're going to have. According to the Star Tribune, who went to the Department of Administration, now you got tens of thousands coming back. Yeah, so how's your cubicle? Yeah, check out your cubicle.
Like 1/3 the size it used to be?
Yeah, think about it. Okay, so the cubicles are going to be 6 by 8 feet. And I don't know what it would normally be.
6 by 8 feet?
6 by 8 feet. That's pretty big.
That's a prison cell, isn't it?
Yeah, that probably is 6 by... Well, what do you think it is working in state government right now? Yeah. It's a prison cell.
Apparently.
But here's the thing. When you're done for the day, I'm not making this up. When you're done for the day...
You're making this up, but go ahead.
According to the Star Tribune and the Department of Administration, you must clean and empty your cubicle at the end of each day. Photos, spare ties that you might have, and other personal effects must be taken off the desks and stored in nearby locker rooms. I am not making this up. They don't
so this
have
is gonna
enough
be like
desks.
shared space. Is that the deal? Is it, so the next
share? So then the next shift comes in, and because you're only working 50% of the time. So let's say you work Mondays and Wednesdays.
So you're sharing a cubicle with somebody else, the other 50%.
I don't want to see their family pictures up when I come in tomorrow. So you've got to clear your desk and all of the little dog pictures and the little foo-foo stuff. You got to clear it, put it in a locker, and that's kind of the deal. Now, the other irony is that for many of these people coming back, and I'm in favor of people coming back, P.S.
I am too.
I think people should come back. I think we ought to have face-to-face encounters and all of that. But for the people coming back, a lot of their work is on Zoom. So you're going to come back to the office and do like video conference calls and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's something.
Somebody is texting in, 763 guy, I just got a job with the state. They explained to me that I'd have to be in the office 50% of the time. I asked if I could be there 100% of the time, and they said no, they don't have the space. So even if he's right, if he's being accurate.
Well, I'm sure he's just got a job. Well, that's a shame that somebody who wants to work 100% of the time cannot do it. So you're working 50% of the time. How many days a week do you work? 5, 10, 15, 20 days. You can pick and choose the 10 days that you work 50% of the time. Now, I know people have gotten used to it, and I do have sympathy for a lot of families that have planned their daycare, all of this stuff
challenge
around a promise by the state that this is how it's going to be. And then suddenly the rules all change. So that is a very interesting comment from the listener.
Athletic Fat Guy writes, they call that a hotel-style office. Is that true?
I don't know. That sounds perfect. Sounds like a great
small.
Yeah, 6 by 8.
6 by 8's not very big.
That's like a Japanese hotel room.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you been to Japan where you can buy these little cubicles?
Yeah, I have been to Japan once. Yeah.
So, so people will go in there and make sure your stuff. I'm trying to think of all the stuff that I had pictures up and campaign signs and. Do you put up
all your cheesecake photos?
All the cheesecake,
the
calendar,
ingenues,
the calendar,
the Farrah Fawcett Majors poster you had
with
of her in the bathing suit,
and then pictures of me with famous people, name dropping, all of that.
You'd have to store all of that.
So think about in the movie The Office, where you're going to get your desk set up every single morning, and it seems odd to me.
Doesn't sound very homey or very, very inviting.
Very encouraging in the workplace. And so, I think the unions are understandably perturbed about this. But again, like in media at CCO and other places, people, we're back.
Another texter writes, I'm an architect, and a 6 foot by 8 foot workstation is much larger than most of corporate America. A 6 foot by 6 foot is actually quite common in the private sector. So this might mean I don't have a good concept of space. To be honest with you,
think about how much we have in our cubes. I mean, that's
okay. So we got more than that.
Well, do you have a tape measure here?
No, I don't.
In your drawer?
Not in my back pocket. No, I'm sorry. I don't.
I have my tool belt at home.
Yeah.
Why?
I'll take his word for it. I'll take the architect's word. Maybe it's true.
Okay, 6 by 8. Well, 8 feet. When I'm thinking about it, that feels like it's bigger than the ones we had at WCCO TV.
Maybe yours. Other people had big ones.
Had what?
Don't even start. Don't.
We've made it this far without you derailing.
It's 6:11. Don't do it now.
All right. So, but I didn't have a glass. I mean, we all sat in cubicles, and you had the.
Well, you had an office at Channel 4. We know that.
Oh, come on!
You didn't?
I sat in a cubicle with four different people.
Seriously?
Yeah, absolutely. Three. Did
you like any of the others in the cubicle? Or not so much?
I loved every one of them so much.
It's a very nice pause.
So much.
Where is your favorite governor going? I mean, he's in California. Is he ever going to be back here? Does he know that the next presidential election is not till 2028?
Got to start now.
Does he think it's 2026?
You got to start somewhere. Okay, I've come around on this.
I know. I don't know why, but
I've come around on this. I think if he wants to go around and raise the flag and pound on the table, and he's being very naughty. He's giving speeches and he's swearing because apparently you got to reach young males. I think nobody's out there doing what needs to be done to push back against Trump. I mean, there's very, very few people. And there's only, let's say there's a couple of dozen people who might be able to run for president. I mean, if you're one of them, what are you going to do? Sit here?
No, I just
fix the budget first. Get the budget done.
The budget would help.
Get the budget done.
But I'm just not convinced he's as effective as you think he is. That's all.
Well, I'm not saying who knows if he's going to make it. I don't know. Yeah. I thought Tim Pawlenty would be a good president and would be out there campaigning. I absolutely did.
So he went to California on purpose because he's messing with Gavin there, right? Newsom?
He is, and it's also rich in donors.
Yeah, that's true.
And he went to South Carolina, which is the first primary, and also went to things there. But he's in all of these places, going on podcasts. This is what
you can't take no for an answer. He's
being called. This is called the Mea Culpa tour.
Yes.
The Mea Culpa tour,
right?
Where he is apologizing for the performance of the ticket, and he's like tiptoeing right up to saying something about Harris, but Kamala Harris, but he isn't doing it, and he hasn't yet said anything about Biden other than stayed in too long, and he's now unfettered, unbound. But he says that when he was in the race, they wouldn't let him do anything. He was too confined. They wouldn't let him talk.
So in other words, he's blaming other people for his own inadequacies.
And the Democrats.
Ineffectiveness.
But he's going after the Democrats, too. So, go for it. Why not? Sure, why not? There are no rules.
Does he ever come back here?
There are no rules.
Has he been back here? Who's been here more often in the last 3 months? Lou Nanny or Kessler?
Or Walls.
Or Walls.
I get it.
Walls, yeah. Or you.
Well,
no,
he's been here more often.
Yeah.
Ice
think so?
or Walls.
I know you want the text badly, don't you? You want them. You want them, don't you? You were disappointed earlier.
I think Ice. I think Ice has been here more than. Well, he's here. These are weekend gigs, and he's here. He's here, and
who's paying for all this?
Running the state's a 5-day job.
Well, they
50% in office.
As Jesse Ventura used to say, when he would go and do XFL games and referee the wrestling matches. Have you ever heard of a cell phone? They've got cell phones. They've got they've got all of this stuff. It's fine, and governors do this, and so I just think. He's not doing anything wrong yet, and he's doing what he thinks he needs to do in order to run. He's got to think about running for governor, too, again, and that's going to be a little difficult. He's getting hammered pretty good, though.
Do you have a tool belt at home?
I do.
You do? You're a tool belt guy.
Well, I don't wear it. I also have...
But you have tools?
Oh, yeah.
Hammer, power sander,
all that,
drill, all that stuff. You got it all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you use any of those things capably?
I can do household work. Absolutely. Just small things. I don't build decks like you.
No,
I don't build backyard decks.
I can't build
patios.
Anything, believe me.
But if I got to change an outlet, sure.
You can do it. You can do that.
Come on.
Okay. If a plug goes, south, like there's no electricity to the plug, you can fix it.
And then if I can't, then I call the
electrician.
but
$75 an hour. We got to go.
Again?
Yeah, well, it's late. It's 6:15. Yeah, we went the distance. Thank you.
Fine.
Channel 4's Pat Kessler, 5, 6, and 10 o'clock. And remember, his cubicle is much larger than your cubicle.
Don't miss out on Grease at the Chanhassen Dinner Theater. Experience the nostalgia of high school in the 50s with this musical based on the iconic film. And there's tickets at the contest page, KFAN.com, keyword contest. Show Wrap is brought to you by American Pressure, commercial-grade pressure washers since 1975.
It's the bumper-to-bumper Show Wrap.
Final text for the day. I work in an office building downtown that opened in 2022. Not a government job. We've had shared workspaces for a year and a half. A days are Monday, Tuesday teams. B days are Wednesday, Thursday teams. We all have work-issued laptops, but have separate keyboard/mouse bags at our desk for the different days and have to clean/reset after our 2 days for our desk mate. That's tough. I don't think that's a way to encourage people to come on back. Come on back. That's interesting, though. A lot of good texts have come in on that particular subject. I want to thank Kessler, who just joined, and also want to thank Russo Radio. A lot of good hockey conversation with him, much of it Wild-related, that began about 4:15, and then we eventually talked Stanley Cup Finals, which will begin tonight in Edmonton, where he is working, of course. He'll be filing a live report overnight for The Athletic as well.
We go right there after this.
Straight to game one?
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. Edmonton is hosting in this case, right?
Correct.
I believe, if not mistaken. Tomorrow is Thursday, so Dr. Dan's inbox will be opened. If you want to hit, you got ideas already, you're inspired, you can email Gaardsy right now or later this evening, JG at KFAN.com. JG at KFAN.com for the inbox, which we will open for the second consecutive week. The NBA Finals begin tomorrow night, and as a result, we will preview those with our old friend Mitch Lawrence, longtime NBA reporter in Dallas and at the New York Daily News as well. I'm sure he'll have some opinions on the Tibbs move.
For sure.
He's a New York kid, knows the New York market, obviously, very well. So that'll be the plan for tomorrow. And who knows the rest of the... well, tomorrow's Thursday already, right? So then we just have Friday. I'm sure we'll have Lavelle. Maybe do we give Gessling the week off, or is there any Viking stuff to cover? Other than I saw there was another bombastic quarterback comparison that's just going to add more pressure.
Yeah, Joe
to
Burrow,
J.J.
right?
McCarthy. Yeah. Was it a JJ? Was it Justin Jefferson?
Yeah, Jets.
Jets.
Yep.
Comparing him to Joe Burrow.
The ball feels
so he's been compared this week to Joe Burrow and to who's the Buffalo guy?
Josh Allen.
That's do they know what they're doing to him? Do they realize how this is just building up? That if he doesn't hit the ground running from day one, people are going to want him cut?
350 and 3 tutties against the Bears on Monday night. That's got to be it, right?
That would get it going.
Randy Moss had a coming out party on Monday Night Football.
Very, very true.
Maybe JJ will have one too.
I don't think we'll have to worry about snow because that's September, right?
September 8th.
But it could be windy because that's why they call it the Windy City. Thank you for watching. Thanks for listening. And we will chat tomorrow at 3.
Go get them, Glenn. Show us what you can do.